Hiya, we're going to do 13 plus as energetic stages of a child development. I have a smile on my face because 13 plus is, in its own way, challenging, in every possible way challenging. But if you've been able to give the children that basics of constant through the other stages, this usually is a better stage. If a constant level of comfort and connection and safety has been going on for them as much as possible in the earlier stages, then 13 plus gets easier. 13 plus, the biggest thing I could possibly say is puberty. Puberty. Now, there's a lot of belief that hormonal imbalances cause our teens to go loopy, crazy, mad. But actually there's scientific evidence saying that it's only about 10 to 15% of the cause. The main cause is different parts of the brain developing at different times, so it brings an imbalance to the left and right side of the brain. It is not a problem, it's not wrong, it happens to all teenagers. That's why if you put 5 teenage girls in a room around the same age and you sit and listen to them, you're like, what? And they're communicating at their own level because those development parts of the brain are kind of similar. So they kind of communicate in their own way, and you're like, what? And I've done it with 15-year-old girls and with my daughter, and it's like, I have no idea what they're on about, okay? And they're communicating, they are communicating. So what the 13 plus, the teen years is about, the stage, is about identifying who I am in connection to my parents, not as part of the family, but as an individual. Who am I in connection to my school? Who am I in connection to my friends? Who am I in connection to the government? Who am I in connection to community? Who am I in connection to everything? And I believe 13 can be more insecure than any of the other stages because there is so much exploding in the body of a teenager. Okay? And I believe it's good. I believe it's good to give them space. My daughter's bedroom was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I couldn't even walk in there with so much stuff on the floor. But it was her space. So she had her space to bounce off of, her space to define. And then I'd come in the morning and then it would be spotlessly clean because I gave her the space and she started to take responsibility of it in its own way. I'm only talking about from one child's point of view. Obviously, every child is going to be different when it comes to how they're developing into the rest of the world as an individual. So, I'm not going to keep this as a long section because everyone's so different, every child is so different, and this is the point. This is where they're identifying how they feel in themselves about being different to the rest of the world, confirming over again the stages, going through all the stages of development that they've been through in their individual minds. So, I'm just going to give you some concepts and ideas from experiences with clients that I've had with teenagers. So parents who come to me and say to me, my 16-year-old son is a nightmare, he doesn't do this, he won't listen to me, he won't do that, he won't do this, he won't do that. And I was asking her questions like, can he make his own bed? She went, no, I'll make his own bed. I said, can he fry an egg? No, I always cook for him. Can he put the washing machine on? No, I always do the washing. I said, well, as a parent, you should get your children to be able to do all these things because when they move out, who's going to do it for them? Your job as a parent is to make sure your kids can survive this world, can survive with society, with community. So start teaching your children. And she was like, well, I might have not got it right with my 16-year-old, but my other children will now start. Now it'll be my job to make sure my kids can actually survive in this world without a parent. This is what 13 on is about. Learning to survive as individuals in this world without a parent. So, what do we do with 13-year-old girls, 15-year-old girls, 17-year-old girls? From my point of view, is they want to vent. They want to come to you and tell you their stories. They want to feel safe coming to you and telling you this happened and this happened and that happened and this did and I feel this and I believe this and this is who I am and this is who this is and that over and over again. And I believe the parent's job is just to listen. To let them vent and vent and vent to the parent and just to listen. Even if the child's saying you're the worst parent in the world, don't take it personally. Listen. Okay? Check in with yourself to see if you are doing things that might not be helping them, but listen. Okay? Don't go, I think you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. That doesn't help them define who they are. You can say things, from my point of view, saying, if I was in your situation, maybe I'd do this. Have you thought about doing it this way? Not you have to do it this way. Help them at this stage learn to identify who they are. Now, amazingly, they are still learning from you. They're still learning how you react or overreact or act in situations that they're going to bring to you. Because they're going to bring situations to you. They're going to bring them and they're going to push you more than any other time in your life, in their lives. They are going to want to know who they are in the rest of the world. They're going to want freedom. They're going to wrong you. They're going to right you. And girls especially are going to vent and vent and vent. They're going to want to be heard and seen and understood. Even if you don't absolutely understand what's going on for them, you try your best. Boys, well, boys are different. Boys introvert at this time. They really go into themselves. So a parent comes to me and says to me, my 15-year-old son just won't do anything. I can't motivate him. I can't push him. He doesn't want to do stuff. He doesn't want to do anything. And I said to her, good. Because what he's doing is he's sitting like this. Because the part of his brain that's learning to internalize, that's learning to trust his intuition, that's learning to connect to himself, is growing, is working. And if you start pushing him out the whole time, pushing him to go do this, go do this, go do that, because you shouldn't be sitting at home doing nothing, okay, you're actually stopping the development of their brain. Okay, so you need to be able to say to your child, do nothing. If your child is bored, let them be bored. It's not your job to make your child happy. It's not your job to make your child excited. It's not your job to entertain them all the time. Boredom is a process of connecting internally. That's one of the reasons why too much time on the computer, new evidence has come out just this week that social media and computer games and things have minimal impact on a child's development over 13 years old. However, length of time on these devices does have an impact. And if you look at it from this point of view, if your child isn't having enough time with themselves, how are they going to have time with themselves when they're older? They're going to be going. So there needs to be time where there is no computers, where there is doing art, doing homework, sitting and just being with their mates. Okay, and sitting and just laying on the sofa doing nothing. Sitting in the park doing nothing. This is how they're developing in themselves, especially boys. Developing who they are in themselves, in connection to themselves. They are becoming hunters by learning to focus deeply in themselves. And with teen boys, there can be times of hours where they don't think anything. They don't feel, connect to anything. That's okay. That's normal. If you look at this as a primal point of view, they would have been sitting, waiting for game to come along to hunt. Sitting in a spot where they've been to before at 18 years old, where they've been hunting as cavemen, or cave boys, and sitting and waiting, and just losing themselves in time, waiting for the next thing to hunt. Where there's a war on, and you sit and you wait, and you have to occupy your brain. You can either make yourself anxious, or you can empty yourself out. This is what's happening for them. They are learning to be empty, to wait, to be patient, to connect. So teen boys need this time. They need time away from the world. They need time away from the computer screens and the games, just to stop. It doesn't have to be go all the time. The teen brain is trying to develop who it is in the world as an individual. I hope this helps you. It's not an easy one to explain because every child, every person is different. We can see the stages under 13 years old much clearer, but over 13 years old, it goes in different directions. It goes at different speeds with each individual completely different. The one thing I'll leave you with at the end of this conversation is there's a belief that the teen brain is actually the right brain as a human being. And as we get out of the teen brain into our 20s, we actually growing old already. Because as cavemen, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds were old. We already were past, we were the wise ones then, So the teen brain might actually be the way we're supposed to be in life. I don't know that so much, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Thank you for listening to me. I hope this has helped you understand the different stages of development on an energetic level for children. Thank you very much.